Hi, and welcome to Implementing Number Strings in Your Elementary Classroom. I'm Whitney, and I'm a third grade teacher. Today I'm going to walk you through step by step how to use number strings to engage your students in flexible math thinking. Let's get started. Number strings are a powerful teaching tool. They consist of progressively challenging math problems designed to encourage specific problem-solving strategies. They start with easier problems, they get more challenging, so the idea is kids can take the strategies for the easier problems and apply it to the more challenging problems. Number strings can take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, depending on how many strategies that you invite your students to share. You are not the sage on the stage, you are the facilitator, you're the annotator, and it's your job to make students' thinking visible. Okay, you're gonna start number strings by gathering all your students together, and I like to gather mine right on the carpet in front of my whiteboard. And you need some sort of tool that you are gonna display your number strings on. Like here I have a poster board, or you can use a whiteboard. Any of those work great. So before diving into your first number string, you want to set clear expectations. Remind students that there are so many different ways to tackle math problems. Encourage creativity, respect for diverse thinking, and embrace mistakes for opportunities for learning. We want this to be a comfortable environment where all students feel safe sharing their ideas. So I want you to teach your students these 4 hand signals, because we know when you write something up on the board and you have a bunch of students raising their hands, once hands go up, the rest of the class, the thinking stops. So we want thinking to continue, so we're gonna use these hand signals instead of raising our hands. The first hand signal is going to be a fist on the chest, and this will let you know that they are thinking about the problem. The second hand signal is going to be a thumbs up in front of the chest, low on the chest like this. And this shows you that they have solved it and they have one strategy. So for those kids that solve it really fast, have them show you with different hand signals how many different strategies that they have figured out to solve it. And the last hand signal is the I agree hand signal, and this can be used if students hear a strategy that they agree with or if they hear an answer that they agree with. Today for this sample, I'm going to do a beginning of the year 3rd grade number string using addition, and my target strategy would be making friendly landmark numbers. So the first thing you are going to do is write the first expression from the number string up on the board. After you write your expression, you're just going to pause and give your students think time. This gives you an opportunity to be looking out over all of your students, and you're going to observe some different things. First, you're going to see those students who got the answer right away, and they're going to raise their hands. Gently remind them, okay, give me a thumbs up once you have your strategy. You're also going to see some of those students who are picking out the floor and they're not looking up at the board. Look up here. You're going to see some students who are rocking it and they're just giving you these hand signals and they're showing you that they're getting lots of different strategies. And then you're even going to see kids who are counting on their fingers. This is a great time just to do a quick little formative assessment to get an idea of your different student levels. After you've given ample think time and you see most students have given you that thumbs up, you're going to do some peer sharing and let them turn and talk with their neighbor and explain their strategy with somebody sitting next to them. And the benefits of this are twofold. First, it builds confidence in those kids that maybe didn't quite nail a strong strategy or didn't feel confident in their answer. Hearing somebody else explain it might connect with them. And second, not every kid is going to get a chance to share their strategy with the class. It's very powerful allowing them to at least get a chance to share their strategy out loud with someone else. Now, before you go on to having students share their strategies with the whole class, you want to go through and collect answers. I say, who has an answer that they would like to share? Kids raise their hands, and then I call on kids to give answers. And then I write the answers up on the board. But I don't stop with just one answer. I always make sure that I get all the answers that kids came up with. So then I'll ask, does anybody have a different answer that they would like to share? And if somebody gives me a different answer, I write that down too. We want to include all the answers that students came up with. Once there's no more answers, then you can stop. But sometimes you will get multiple answers, especially for more complex problems. It's time to let students choose an answer to justify while you annotate their strategies. Remember, it can be challenging to capture their thinking accurately, so be okay asking them lots of clarifying questions to make sure you're writing it down just as they were thinking about it. Now I'll ask students, hey, does anybody want to justify one of these answers and explain how you solved it? For instance, I had a student who explained this problem by saying, I added the 9 and the 5 and I got 14, and then I added the 10 to the 14 and I got 24. I want to be able to capture all of that thinking in a very clear and visual way. I like to write each step that they give me on a different line so that it makes it really clear. I always check with students too to say, does this capture what you were thinking? They can either say yes, or they might say, no, I was thinking about it differently. And then I try to change it so that it matches their thinking. Sometimes we'll ask clarifying questions to help pull out more of their thinking and the why behind why they solved it this way. For this one, I might ask, well, where did this 10 come from that you got down here? And I'm hoping that they're gonna say something like, from the 19, I split the 19 into 10 and 9. So now they're practicing decomposing numbers. I want to write that down to make it visible. Okay, so we decompose that 19 into a 10 and a 9. Well, how did you know that 9 plus 5 equals 14? And it is amazing the thinking that can come out of these number strings. After a student shares their strategy, I write their name next to it, and this shows them that their thinking is important. Now I would ask, does anybody have a different strategy they would like to share? And then when I call on that student, I would say, okay, which answer do you want to justify? And then I would write their strategy down. So now you might be thinking, okay, what about these different answers that were incorrect? After I have let two people share their strategies, if they've both arrived at the same number, I'll ask, well, does anybody want to share a strategy or justify one of these answers, or do you want to revise your thinking? And most of the time, kids will want to revise their thinking. Oh, okay, so we revised our thinking on this one, and we found out that it was 24. Let's say that the students didn't do the strategy that you were hoping that they were going to get. And this is a place value strategy, but I really wanted them to make that landmark friendly number and use that strategy to help them solve this problem. So if nobody is coming up with a strategy that you want, instead of just explicitly teaching it to them, I have a tip. I might say something like, wow, I love all this thinking. Let me show you what I had a student do last year that was also really cool. Okay, so what this student did is they took 1 away from the 5 and they gave it to the 19. And then I would write that down. And then I might pause. Who can kind of help me finish this? And I'll call on students. Okay, well, what is 5 take away 1? Well, we know that's 4. And what's 19 plus 1? Oh, 20. What do you think they did next? Well, they added the 4 and the 20 together. That's right. Why do you think that they did that? And I'm hoping that kids are going to say, oh, because 20 is a friendly number, or 20 is an easier number to work with than 19. Use these numbers that are close to a friendly number to help us to add mentally in our heads. This is a really cool way to guide students to a strategy, but without having to explicitly teach them the strategy. So now you would just repeat this process with the next expression in your number string. And you would go through all of the steps again. You would write down the equation, you would pause and give think time, encourage students to use those hand signals, give students time to talk with a neighbor and share their strategy, collect all the answers, have kids justify their answer while you record their strategies. In conclusion, number strings are a powerful tool to really get kids to start thinking flexibly about numbers and to see a lot of different strategies. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this video was helpful and motivated you to try using number strings in your elementary classroom. Stay tuned for my next video in this workshop series, where I'm going to go over a lot of frequently asked questions that I get from elementary teachers all about using number strings in their classroom. And if you have any questions or you just want to chat or talk more about math, please reach out on Instagram. I'm at BlimeyBox, or you can find me on YouTube. I am at Whitney Ebert Math. Hope you have a wonderful day and go out there and make math magical.